I'd like to call the East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors meeting to order for Thursday, January 20th, 2022. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to ask everyone to, as always, please double check any electronic devices, any phones, anything like that. They should either be off or on vibrate. Thank you. This meeting was duly advertised as required in the Second Class Township Code in the Lancaster newspaper on December 1st of 2021. What we'd like to do to start the meeting out is have a recognition for two officers that are going to be retiring. I have two letters here that I'd like to read. And then I think the chief has some things he'd like to say. So, Officer Michael Firestone. Dear Officer Firestone, at its it's going to read, at its 2022 meeting, the Board of Supervisors will accept, with regret, your retirement from the East Cocalico Township Police Department, with your last day employed being January 15, 2022. You will be missed. We appreciate all your years of service and all that you've done for the community. For Officer Keith Neff, same thing. At our 2022 meeting, we expect the Board of Supervisors, with regret, will accept your retirement from the East Cocalico Township Police Department. And you will be missed, and we really thank you for all your years of service to the community and all you've done. Officer Firestone has been with the community for 27 years, and Officer Neff has been with the community for 25 years. So that's before I was in the county. So. What I need to do first, what I'd like to do first is I need a motion to accept, with regrets, the retirement of, we'll make it one motion, of Officer Neff and Officer Firestone from the East Cocalico Township Police Department. Do I have that motion?
I'll second it. Yeah, I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Second. With regret. Thank you for your service. Thank you.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Chief.
So just a little bit, Officer Michael Firestone began his career with the East Cocalico Township Police Department on January 15th, 1995. Mike served his entire career in patrol, and after 27 years, it can be said that Mike has seen and done almost everything imaginable as a patrol officer. While looking through Mike's personnel file, I came to realize the many letters of commendation and thank you letters Mike received for his efforts from numerous citizens throughout his career. Mike's quiet and calm demeanor always had a calming effect on those individuals who were going through a stressful time or who were not always happy to see the police. During his career, Mike became a crime scene technician, earning several certificates regarding crime scene forensics, fingerprinting, and evidence collection. Interestingly, I learned over the last few years that Mike is quite an accomplished home chef and truly enjoys learning new skills in the kitchen. Mike's dependable nature and care for the citizens of this community will be missed. I would like to congratulate Officer Michael Firestone for his 27 years of honorable service to the citizens of the Cocalico community and dedication to the East Cocalico Township Police Department. Officer Keith Neff started his career with the East Cocalico Township on January 20th, 1997. Keith served as a patrol officer until his promotion to detective on April 1st, 2004. During his tenure as a detective, Keith conducted thousands of investigations with the same intensity and thoughtfulness that earned him a reputation as one of the best criminal investigators in the county. Keith was awarded the honor of Investigator of the Year for all of Lancaster County in 2009. After serving many years as a detective, Keith decided to return to patrol on July 24th, 2020. Although Keith was back on patrol, he helped our newly promoted detective along with many other officers with various cases by giving advice from his vast knowledge of being an investigator for 17 years. Keith also served as the department's use of force instructor for a large portion of his career, helping each officer prepare for most encounters they may face each shift. I would like to congratulate Officer Keith Neff on his 25 years of honorable service to the citizens of East Cocalico Township, the Cocalico community, and his dedication to East Cocalico Township Police Department. So if you want to stand in front, you guys.
Chief, could I just have a minute?
Sure.
I'd like to say a personal word to Officer Firestone. A little over 2 years ago, my wife had a medical event up here at Weaver's parking lot, and she was very distraught and upset. Officer Firestone responded that morning, and the amount of professionalism and caring that I saw from you that day was just unmatched. You know, my wife and I both appreciate the way you helped out that day, helped us out. And I know I haven't really had an opportunity to say it to you, but I will now. So thank you for what you did that day and going over and above, in my opinion, what you did for us. So thank you. And you know, that does not go unrecognized, and we will miss that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
So if you like to stand in front, and they'll stand in behind us. Yeah, stand. Yeah, stand on that one, Jack. It's cold in here. I'll take a couple.
No more dealing, no more dealing with the chief.
Yeah.
You want to stay for Casey's engineering report?
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I would like to announce that we did have one executive session after the last Board of Supervisors meeting. That executive session involved personnel and legal matters. And that executive session went from about 8:55 through just about 11 o'clock in the evening. Okay, past meeting minutes for approval. John?
I'll make a motion to approve the past meeting minutes from January 3rd, 2022.
Okay, and I will second that. Any comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Doug Mackley. Hey, on page 5 of 9, Jeff Mitchell made a motion seconded by Chairman Carrasco to appoint Daniel J. Becker as East Cocalico Township Authority Chairman for a term expiring. I think that's worded wrong. That's not your authority to promote people on other boards as chairman. I think you should have just said to appoint Daniel J. Becker for the authority. They pick their own chairman, if I remember.
It's a good catch. Thank you, Doug. Yep, thank you. We'll make that correction. So amend the motion with the correction.
So I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 3rd, 2022 with that correction.
And I will second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, none, motion carries. Okay, land planning engineering, Casey.
All right, first on the agenda tonight, Edwards Moeller Lot Annexation Plan. The property here that we're talking about discussing is directly behind the MJM Salon, which was the old Reevestown Bank there at the Reevestown Square. Essentially, a portion of the, I'll call it the salon property, is being annexed and added on to the adjacent dwelling property. It's only 0.045 acres, or about 1,900 square feet. There will be no improvements or any type of earth disturbance as part of this plan. It is simply a swapping of land. You can see it on the screen. It's kind of the tail to the bottom right of Mike's screen there, where he's pointing with the pointer. Like I said, it's very, very small section. So tonight, two waiver modifications. The first motion would be to approve a waiver modification of section 194.13B3A of the East Cocalico Township subdivision land development ordinance related to depicting existing features within 200 feet of the subject properties and deemed plan information currently provided adequate. I can go to the next one right away if you'd like. Next one, we motion to approve a waiver modification of section 194.13B4 of the East Cocalico Township subdivision land development ordinance related to requirement for a Pennsylvania natural diversity inventory search conditioned on general plan note 8 remaining on the plan. And then the final one, if you'd like me to just keep moving all three at the same time, will be a motion to approve the Edwards Moeller annexation plan based on the applicant's consultant addressing the comments in the Becker Engineering Review Letter dated December 17, 2021, with the status of comments updated via email on January 4th, 2022, to the satisfaction of the township and authorized signature of the plans upon satisfaction of those comments.
You weren't expecting it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you have anything you'd like to add to?
No, it's just, obviously, this is something, gives the property off-street parking eventually. Because the Church Street, as we know, is like a drag strip. I have to back into my parking space every day. In fact, before I came here, when I got home from work, I almost had a pickup truck rear-end me, because they pull through the stop signs and they just hammer down and they don't care what you're doing. So part of this is so that we have off-street parking to try to be safe.
Thank you. All right, so I will make a motion for the three motions as read.
I will second that.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second for the three motions as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. The three motions carry.
All right, the next project would be 35 Keeler Ave, Stormwater Management Plan. This would be the proposal of a approximately 1,500 square foot dwelling on Keeler Ave, which is behind Fowles, behind Riviera's Pizza, as we're going towards Reevestown 272. Again, essentially it's a single family dwelling, driveway, attached garage. We reviewed the plan. We will be getting a revised plan back to us, but based on our level of comfort with the plans thus far, we have the following motions. I'll read the first two, they're waiver modifications. First motion would be to accept a waiver modification of 185.14.4 of the East Cocalico Township Stormwater Management Earth Disturbance Ordinance related to showing all physical and man-made features within 200 feet of the developed site. The next motion would be to accept a waiver modification of section 185.27A1A4 of the East Cocalico Township Stormwater Management and Earth Disturbance Ordinance related to utilizing a 6-inch conveyance line in lieu of the ordinance specified 8 inches for facilities outside the right-of-way and not subject to vehicular loading.
Do you expect anyone for this one? Excuse me. Okay. Okay, grouping those motions together, do we have a motion for those?
I make a motion to approve the waiver modifications, read as per the engineer. Both of them.
Okay, and I will second that. We have a motion and a second, and any questions or comments? A motion and a second, all in, for the two motions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, both motions carried.
Okay, as far as questions or comments, I wasn't sure if the board had an opportunity to read through our most recent January 12th, 2022 review letter. But if you did, and are going off a recommendation of being satisfied with the plan, I do think that the board and township can conditionally approve the plan at this time, as long as our comments in that prior letter were addressed. If the board would like to proceed that way, I can group the next 4 motions together as one as well.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, the letter, I'm okay with the letter. Yes.
All right, so starting with the first one, motion to conditionally approve the 35 Keeler Avenue Stormwater Management Plan based on the applicant's consultant addressing the comments in the Becker Engineering Review Letter dated January 12th, 2022 to the satisfaction of the township. Second motion to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the improvement guarantee agreement when executed by the applicant and submitted to the township in a form acceptable to township solicitor and accompanied by financial security in the amount of $18,474.46, or as confirmed by the township engineer pending review of the updated plan and in a form acceptable to the township solicitor. Third, to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the stormwater management easement agreement when executed by the applicant and submitted to the township in a form acceptable to the township solicitor. And lastly, number 4, to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the plans when executed and certified by all necessary parties and submitted to the township in a form acceptable to the township solicitor once the township has received all other items necessary to satisfy conditions of approval.
Okay, I will make a motion for the 4 motions as read.
And I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And any comments or questions? Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. The 4 motions carry.
All right, and that's it for me, unless anybody has any questions.
No, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Casey. Enjoy the cold for tomorrow morning. Not going out in the field, later.
Nope.
Say hi in the office. Okay, next item. Mark, want to talk?
Yep.
Go ahead.
We have a couple action items, some more procedural. At the January 3rd meeting, the board did take action to reappoint Tara Erkinger to the Township Recreation Board. But Ms. Erkinger did then subsequently follow up the next day with a letter saying it's been an honor and privilege to serve, but because of other commitments, she would not be able to continue in that position. So we have a motion tonight to accept Tara Erkinger's resignation from the Township Recreation Board. And then the Rec Board also had received interest from Teresa Amaturo to, this was towards the end of last year, to fill in and be considered for a position on the Rec Board. So Ms. Amaturo was invited to the Rec Board's January meeting, got a chance to meet with the Rec Board. They made a recommendation for the Board of Supervisors to consider appointing her to fill that vacant position, and that term will expire December 31st, 2026. So 2 separate actions, but they're both meant to then address membership on the Rec Board, and then this will bring the Rec Board up to full membership at the subsequent end of this action. So you want to first consider a motion to accept Tara Erkinger's resignation from the Township Recreation Board. Take that action first and then go to the next one.
I will make that motion to accept Tara Erkinger's resignation from the Township Rec Board.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. The motion carries.
And then your next one will be to appoint Teresa Amaturo to fill the vacant position on the Recreation Board, which term shall expire December 31st, 2026.
And I will make a motion to appoint Teresa Amaturo to fill the vacant position on the Rec Board for the term which expires on December 31st of 2026. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, next item, Transportation Impact Fee Advisory Committee. They met earlier this week. They just had a one after another Tuesday. And as they had their first meeting for the year, they also were reviewing letters of interest to serve on the committee. Right now, the TIFAC has 8 members. They're required to have between 7 and 15, and there's a formula for what the members need to represent, which we did confirm that night that we did meet that formula in regards to real estate, construction, so forth. At the meeting, Kerry Haas and June Kimbach attended. They had submitted letters of interest, and Alan Maxwell had also submitted a letter of interest, but he wasn't at the meeting. So the committee had discussed and reviewed those letters of interest and had made recommendations for the Board of Supervisors to consider appointing both of those to the, both Kerry Haas and June Kimbach to the Transportation Impact Fee Advisory Committee. There are no terms that are set with that in regards to terms of appointment, but it is the recommendation they made for you guys to consider and see where you want to go.
So we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kerry Haas to the Transportation Impact Fee Advisory Committee.
And I will second that. We have a motion and second. Any questions? Okay, motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Okay, then the other one was June Kimbach. If you want to consider that, make a motion, however you want to address that.
Okay, so I will make a motion to appoint June Kimbach to the Transportation Impact Fee Advisory Committee. And do we have a second? No second, so the motion dies. Okay, department reports.
Mr. Carrasco, is this the time now that to ask a question concerning appointments?
Sure.
Or would you prefer to do that now?
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I didn't see you.
No, that's okay. Steve Brubaker. And I'd like to discuss tonight a little bit about the last Board of Supervisors meeting, particularly the reorganization portion. And I'm just going to preface the conversation, my discussion here, that this is difficult, okay? This is a difficult conversation for me because Mr. Mitchell, I've known you for a very long time. Mr. Carrasco, I've known you for a long time. Mr. Bernero, I've known you for a long time. But being that you are our elected representatives, you're accountable to the people. So, at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, during the reorganization portion, Mr. Mitchell, you made a motion, seconded by Mr. Bernero, to appoint Don Miller to the Planning Commission. As transparent, in the spirit of transparency, traditionally in the past, the boards, before the reorganization meeting, usually gives recommendations as to who will be sitting, to you guys, as far as who will be who they wish will be on the boards. Am I correct in that? Okay. In the spirit of transparency, Mr. Mitchell, did you get a recommendation from the Planning Commission to reappoint Ms. Kathleen O'Connell and Mr. Ralph Buckles to the Planning Commission?
Yes, I had heard that, that recommendation came through.
Okay. But you went ahead and you appointed Mr. Don Miller.
That's correct.
Now,
And I did that for the reason of, you know, we are charged with filling these committees as a board of supervisors. And, you know, the planning commission is an important board. And when it comes to, you know, quorums, and people attending meetings, I would expect, you know, people to show up and fill the commitments that they make. And when that doesn't happen, you know, I see that as problematic. So, you know, that was my decision to go ahead, to move ahead and nominate someone else for that position.
understandable. What meetings were missed last year? Do you have specific meetings that were missed by the
Well,
planning commission?
I guess, as you know, there was one that was, had to be canceled for lack of quorum.
That one, yeah, and we were in the midst of COVID as well, so
Right.
you could, you know, to your point. However, if somebody is interested in being on the board, usually that person comes to the committee, okay, such as Mr. Haas and Ms. Kenbach, interested in the TIF committee, and they usually will sit down with the committee will interview them, get their resume. Being that I'm a member of the planning commission, I never received Mr. Miller's resume. And if Mr. Miller is here, this is nothing against Mr. Miller, this is no offense to him, I mean him no harm. I'm just asking the question, why wasn't the planning commission given a resume to peruse before?
Well, I think the board of supervisors was, and, you know, we're the ones accountable for making those decisions. Mr. Miller was suitable in my eyes to be part of the committee. He expressed his willingness to serve. He hadn't been on any other board of the township. And, you know, one of Craig Ebersol's discussions with, you know, various board members, with myself when he was done, when he was leaving, he made the quote to me specifically that, you know, in a township here of over 11,000 people, he thinks it was good to kind of have many different thoughts and ideas on the boards that we have. And that means, you know, less repetition. When you have people serving on 2 or 3 different boards, that doesn't really allow for any other citizens to step in there. And, you know, when you have somebody that's not serving on any boards, but wants to, has some experience and is going to make that commitment, I think that's relative. I really do. And, you know, we're here to serve the whole community, not just a few of the people that are out there. And the ideas presented, I think it's all good.
I understand that, but you, again, traditionally, the boards make a recommendation, give you their professional advice. You can do with it what you want. The rec board had some openings. You were given a recommendation, you rubber stamped that. The zoning hearing board gave you recommendations, you rubber stamped that. So the planning commission rolled out 2 viable candidates who have served before in the past. and you rejected that.
Well, I guess I'll reiterate once again, when somebody doesn't make half the meetings for the year, I find that problematic. Developers come to the township, and we as a board, we're working to try and expedite any kind of development project that comes before us. As many people in this room will note, well, we've had a bad rap at times for getting projects done in a timely fashion. So, I think it's relative that people that are on our boards can show up in a regular manner.
Mr. Mitchell, who's not showing up for these meetings?
Well, I think we looked at one of the rec board members and they didn't make it to half the meetings last year. I mean, the planning commission. So
But the meetings were still held. The developments were planned, the things were moving along.
Well, that was my rationale, my decision.
Okay.
So, and I'm just one of three.
So what qualifications does Mr. Miller have to serve on the planning commission? Again, this is nothing against Mr. Miller, it's just, we were not given the courtesy of seeing a resume, it being introduced to the person. When somebody has an interest, they come and they sit down and they talk to the committee, and the committee is at least given the courtesy to discuss.
Well, if you're offended by that, I apologize. But, the board did have a chance to review it, and I felt Mr. Miller was qualified. So, okay?
Fair enough. Mr. Bernero, you wanted to hold off, to Mr. Mitchell's point, there have been holdups as far as the planning is concerned. Developers want to keep moving. But you have, you decided not to move on a motion at the last meeting. Correct. Now the planning commission is in a bind because we only have 6 committee members. We have a meeting coming up here this week. If there's a tough vote, we don't have a tiebreaker. We need to have 7 people on the planning commission. So my question is the same to you as it is to Mr. Mitchell. What is the holdup?
So regarding
not moving on Miss O'Connell and Mr. Buckles.
So after the new year, when I was official, I requested from our secretary meeting attendance for all the committees. I have it here if you'd like. So Mrs. O'Connell only attended 4 of 11 meetings, 1 of 4 workshops. So that's less than 50%. Like Mr. Mitchell said, I'll reiterate it. I personally think that the planning commission is a very important position. So I feel, if you can't commit to at least, this is me personally, 80% of meetings, I don't think he should be on there. Again, there's over 11,000 residents in our community. I'm sure there's interest. And I'm sure people are turned away because they keep seeing the same people over and over on all the committees. Regarding Mr. Buckles, I spoke to Mike. We set up, we're gonna set up a phone interview because I personally do not know him. I'd like to get his background and see where he's coming from, where he'd like to see the township. Just like I got asked a million questions when I was running, I'd like to ask them as well if I have the opportunity to do that. And this was the perfect opportunity. And again, my understanding, it's a 4 or 6 year term. That's a long time. Just like me, I have a 6-year term. It's a long time. I'm not here today and gone tomorrow. So if I have the opportunity to speak to someone, why not take it? So and Mike correct? We discussed that earlier.
Yep, you're correct.
So we will arrange something, phone call, me, Mr. Hessian, and Mr. Buckles. And hopefully we'll have a decision for next meeting.
So did you happen to reach out to Ms. O'Connell and ask her?
I did not.
on-
This was enough for me.
If you want,
This was enough for me personally. Because if I'd be on the other side and you'd be sitting here, you'd probably be saying the same thing about me. If you can't make 50% of meetings, I'm saying 80%. That's me personally. I don't know what the rest of the board says, but me, I reviewed all committees, not just the planning. I have it all right here. Mr. Buckles on the other side, 9 of 11 meetings, 3 or 4 workshops. That's great attendance.
that is a great.
That's great attendance.
Plus you have the recommendation from the planning commission for Mr. Buckles.
Correct. And to be more transparent, I actually met with Mr. Wanger. We had a great conversation, and I made him aware of my intentions prior to the reorg meeting. I'm not sure if he relayed that to you guys or not, but I did that as well. Just being transparent, letting the whole room know, I did that as well.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
And for the record, and for transparency's sake, who was your opponent running for supervisor?
Kathleen O'Connell.
Miss Kathleen O'Connell.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, department reports.
Okay, couple administrative sort of housing items. We have from Haller Enterprises, our 2022 predictive maintenance agreement. Essentially is the maintenance agreement they do on our HVAC systems to detect early signs of any deterioration or potential problems. Includes calibration, adjustments, alignment, cleaning, spring and summer maintenance with coil cleaning, interim filter change, fall, winter maintenance, and then interim filter change again. Cost for the service for 2022 is $1,598. 2021, it was $1,557. So there's a motion for the board to consider to accept Haller Enterprises predictive maintenance proposal for 2022 in the amount of $1,598.
Okay. So wishes of the board.
So I make a motion to contract with Haller Enterprise to repair, Haller Enterprise preventative maintenance proposal for 2022 in the amount of $1,598.
And I will second that. Any comments or questions?
I'm just surprised it went up by $30. Only, that's good.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item is the gas boiler with Haller. They did maintenance late last year and found that we have a series of items that need to be repaired, more like safety repairs to the control systems. Part of the quotation they gave us, they'll shut down our boiler, drain it, replace the air vent, relief valve, pressure reducing valve, strainer kit, circulator, combustion air damper actuator, and perform the necessary wiring. And then we'll refill the boiler, purge the air from the system, cycle and test, and then ensure there's no leaks on the hydronic side. Again, these were identified during a recent boiler inspection and maintenance that took place at the end of 2021. Total cost for this service is $2,024. So we have for your consideration a motion to contract with Haller Enterprises to repair the gas boiler number 1 controls as per the estimate 41,358,3340 at a projected cost of $2,024.
Mike, question. Jeff, you probably don't even know this, maybe Doug might around. How old is that boiler?
I think Chief had said put on that.
Chief, is it original to the building?
I don't know that it's original, but
I was just curious, because I had never seen the agent at Boiler.
And they don't have it on their report. I was looking to see if they had.
Yeah,
a date on their
that's
report.
why I was asking, I didn't see it. Okay,
It's very temperamental, let's put it that way.
that's why I'm asking the agent.
You feel more comfortable with something sooner.
I think you have to, yeah. You have to fix, yeah, you have to fix it now, just because I don't know, yeah, I don't think you're gonna be able to do it. Okay, so I will make a motion to contract with Howler Enterprises to repair gas boiler number 1 controls as per estimate dated December 2nd, 2021, estimate number 413583340, with a projected cost of $2,024.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Okay, next item is just more of an announcement, but also if there's anything the board is looking to have included on the regional elected officials meeting. That'll take place on Tuesday, the 25th, at the Denver Borough Municipal Building at 7 o'clock. It's open to the public, if anyone would like to attend, where the 4 municipalities and the district and the school will get together, talk about regional items. Clark Barringer, the new district justice, is invited to attend the meeting to get a chance to meet the leaders. He said I think he has, he's on call that night for arraignments at the prison, so if everybody behaves, we'll be able to have him at the meeting, and if not, we will not. But the other discussion was if there was anything you wanted to see on the agenda. One thing that was added was kind of in line with what we talked about before, maybe a potential regional project, and we wanted to discuss a little bit more the potential regional trail to connecting our region to the Warwick Effort Trail. DCNR did just advertise a new round of grants, which may present an opportunity for grant funding to do that feasibility study. So maybe something that we can talk about at that time. But once again, the board, if you have anything you want to add, I can send that over to the person in Denver that will put that on the agenda and make sure we have it for Tuesday night.
Anything else? Thank you.
Oh, yeah, just quick, I'm sorry. Just some upcoming items, just to make sure the board's aware and the community's aware. At the next meeting, we're anticipating John Schick from Ratu will be there to talk about the engineering proposal for the Church Street and SR 272 intersection. He'll present the sort of the drawings that were looked at and discussed by the TIFAC, and they were trying to take some of their comments from that discussion, and he'll tighten those up with the study and then present that to the board at the next meeting. Hopefully, we'll also have the final quotation for the generator. We have 3 now, we're looking for a 4th, and then we're going to look to make sure that we're comparing that those are apples to apples. So that project is moving along, and that may be, if we get that in time, we'll have that on to discuss. And then the last item, which will come to the board soon, will be the TIF deferment payment agreement. We've talked since last year that we have groups coming in now who have to pay their transportation fee and looking to defer that. We've been limiting it to 24 months, but we've never had an official agreement in. And we wanted to make sure if we do something like that, that there, in that agreement, there gives the township flexibility to use those monies in the best case scenario for the township. So a draft agreement has been put together, was reviewed by the TIFAC. There were some comments as well. So we'll try and get a revised draft and give you guys the opportunity to review it and discuss it. So a pretty good meeting coming up in February, the 3rd. So that's all.
Thank you. Any questions for Mike? Okay, Chief.
Evening. First, I would read a letter regarding Officer Rachel Odenwald in reference to her probationary status. So this will be retroactive to January 4th. This letter reads: East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors, Officer Rachel Odenwald has successfully completed her first year of employment in the field training program. I recommend she be removed from probationary officer status. So I would recommend a motion that Officer Rachel Odenwald be removed from probation officer status, retro to January 4th, 2022.
and I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Second? Any questions for the chief? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries.
As I was preparing the calls for service for December and for 2021 totals, I'll go to the total calls for service for the year 2021 for the department was 7,933. And I ran the numbers from last year comparing. The total calls for service were 7,642. So we were up by about 300 calls for service this year, which is expected with various things going on in the world. So we're holding steady at that rate. Officer Weaver and Officer Stauffer attended use of force training. It was a week-long training. As I said when I spoke about Officer Neff, he was the Department use of force instructor for many years. So we decided that it would be best. Officer Weaver had helped Officer Neff in the past with the use of force training. And basically what we do is we have the officers go through a 4 to 5 hour block every year in reference to practicing tactics and reviewing all our use of force policies and the things that go along with that. So Officer Weaver and Stauffer are now certified. Like I said, it was a week-long class. I believe it was last week they went. Fortunately, it was somewhat close down in the King Prussia area. So we're going to get them certified through the state. And this year things have changed. So there's a requirement for all officers or police officers in Pennsylvania to attend to take a class, to take it online, and then to do actual hands-on use of force. So we're hoping that Officer Weaver and Stauffer become certified with the state, and we'll be able to train all our officers to accommodate those requirements for the year. I've been asked from some neighboring departments whether we'd be willing to help out. One's a smaller department, the other one's approximately our size, but I agreed to that very quickly to say, yes, we'll be happy to have your officers come up and also get certified in that. So just being neighborly to them. So within the last basically 3 weeks or so, we have at various points had about 1/3 of the department unable to report to work due to the ongoing flu and other things going on in the world. And the officers that were available stepped up and cooperated, covering the extra shifts that were open and knowing that public safety is paramount. So I would just like to publicly thank the officers of the department for their professionalism and actually the understanding of their families, especially around the holidays, for all the overtime that was needed and was worked by the officers. And finally,
Chief, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
I think Chief Kepley's being very sincere and quiet here. Thank you also for all the extra hours you put in yourself.
Sure.
During that time period. I forgot to mention that.
And finally, unfortunately, one of the longtime crossing guards in Denver Borough, Don Fenninger, passed away suddenly on January 3rd. Don was the individual that was out in weather like today or in the middle of May, helping the students, or even getting into June when it was super hot, or in the rain or otherwise. He was the individual that helped get the buses out of the high school and the cars out of the high school, and in the mornings, get all of them in. Unfortunately, like I said, he passed away suddenly. So I will be sending a letter to his family, a letter of thanks and condolence, and I will I had interest for a substitute crossing guard prior to this, so I will be reaching out and speaking with John Shirk, who is the individual that kind of heads up the crossing guards, and with the individual who expressed interest previously, to see how we can work out the coverage for that area. So I will probably have some more information at the next supervisors meeting in reference to possibly hiring an individual to take over in that capacity. And the other crossing guards that are working are covering, and there's been no issue whatsoever at the school. And if they aren't able to cover, then the school resource officer usually covers those crossings. So I just want to make you aware that I'll be coming, and on the unfortunate passing of Don. So that's all I have to know.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief? Okay, thank you, chief. Okay, community development director.
So it's been, I've been made aware that there's been, over the last, probably years, an interest in having some regulations, I guess, or addressing, however you wanna call it, vacation rentals, short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO kind of thing. And I did dig a little and found that this got so far as Tom Goodman preparing a draft ordinance, proposing amendment to the zoning ordinance to address this back in January of last year, but then the trail sort of died out, so I wasn't, I just wanted to know from the board, is that something that you want to pursue doing, or did it die for lack of interest, or was it something else? Did you ever even see it, the draft ordinance?
What I remember, Sharon, was Tom was submitting, and that's probably what that was, I don't remember seeing it. He was submitting some examples of ordinances that were out there.
Okay.
Because we had never, the discussion started, it was being held. I think it goes back to, either 2019, 2020, 2018. Okay, in terms of how to address these Airbnbs, because the technology was evolving so quickly, it just didn't fit the standard of rental, of what we think of as a rental. Okay, so what I remember was that we were in the phases of doing the research surrounding what were other municipalities doing, how were they addressing it, what types of ordinances were already out there, and possible ordinances, gathering all that data together and then having a discussion in terms of how do we proceed forward with it, because we had gotten a number of complaints on that side of it.
Yeah, and in 2019, there was a zoning application regarding an Airbnb. There was really nothing to guide the zoning hearing board on with that. It left the board kind of making up their own decisions about how to deal with it. And so, yeah, I agree with your analysis of where we were. We were looking at examples of what else is going on in the county.
Yeah, and I agree with Jeff. Now that you mentioned it, I remember it now. Jeff's correct. The catalyst came from zoning because something had come in that caused the initial conversation.
There's been, there was another one recently that came through right before I got here. And another application came in just recently, more recent than that. So it, I guess as a starting point, would you like me to restart this process of sort of focusing, was it ever in front of the planning commission at all? Did the planning commission ever even informally discuss this topic?
No.
Okay. I mean, is that something that you want me to sort of try to?
I think it would be good to pull that zoning decision, to look at some of the parameters that were put in place with that, as some guidelines for the board moving forward. But yeah, it's an up and coming thing, we're gonna be dealing with it more and more, and there needs to be
I mean, there's
something
certainly
formalized.
a lot of it going on in other areas of the county.
Absolutely.
And the county planning commission put out guidance. I did find some samples that Tom Goodman sent. There's no shortage of sample ordinances. Different municipalities handle it differently. It depends on what kind of municipality it is too. So, you know, is it a lakeside community? Is it a city? Is it historic? You know, so so I guess the first question is, are you interested in having an ordinance regulating it in some way? And then, you know, do you want me to actively pursue it to move forward with something?
Zoning needs some guidelines for it, yeah.
Okay.
I personally agree that we should definitely reopen that.
Okay.
And restart that investigation and gathering the data.
I agree. I mean, if there's requests coming in, I mean, I think we should be proactive, be prepared, because once you do the first one or second one, they're gonna start coming in. It's really, the Airbnbs are really taking off.
I think, Eddie's been a little concerned that, just from his perspective, I don't know whether he hears things, but his thinking is if we, it would be better to regulate them and set some parameters on them than to do nothing and have them operating, illegally, I guess.
It's better to get in front of it.
Right, so, okay, I'll work on that.
So technically, we can't tell them they're operating illegally if we don't have anything standing. So
We sort of
got-
can, because it's not a permitted use.
Okay.
So since it's not a permitted use, it's not supposed to be occurring.
Okay.
It was a challenge to try and figure out what kind of guidelines really needed to be in place when the initial application came in.
And the reason it's the technology. The technology's evolving so quickly, and the perfect example is Uber and Lyft. When they first were introduced and they first came out, people realized very quickly when they had accidents that personal auto insurance doesn't cover the liability or the accident, because that's a 400 use. So they had to struggle through that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
And even from the, like we had talked, I mean, Sharon, some of the other things she's looking at is obviously process-wise or fee-wise and what other items in our ordinance that may be a bit dated. We generally see some of the same sort of waivers on each of these plans that we every time we come up. So looking at that as well as our wireless ordinance, she's started to break that down along with Ken. And because it's not like we can just get this advertised and take action, it's amendment to the zoning ordinance, so there's a whole process that needs to go through. So I think the thought was to see if we can sort of package these together so that we save time and do it all at one time.
Okay. Any questions for the director? Okay. Anything else? Thank you. Okay, Judy.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
So tonight, I'd like to discuss where our fund balances stand now that the end of the year has occurred. And I'd like to go over them fund by fund and let you know where we stand with what actually happened compared to the plan that we made, our budget, and where in the budget we were over or under to have that occur. So I'll start with the general fund. At the beginning of 2021, our general fund balance was $2,560,668. At December 31st, 2021, it rose to $2,974,695. We had an increase in fund balance of $414,000. Our plan, our budget for 2021 was to use fund balance, not to increase fund balance. We were planning to use $382,000 of fund balance. So our budget variance in the general fund for the year was just short of $800,000. So we were under budget by $796,228. Those variances in revenue occurred in the following revenue sources. The ones that were over budget were the earned income tax, the local services tax, the CARES Act funding, and refunds, which was for health insurance, and there was also a payroll tax refund that we received. We were over budget in permits for development and roads, and also for shared government services. Revenues that were under budget were a transfer that we had planned to do from the capital reserve to the general fund. It wasn't needed, so we didn't do it. Real estate taxes were low, and community development fees were low. As far as expenses, the departments that were over budget were management, the engineer, and community development. And the departments that were under budget were the police department, road maintenance and repairs, MS4, and insurance and benefits. Okay, so keep in mind that we did do that transfer of $244,000 from the general fund into the capital projects fund. If we had not done that, our fund balance would have increased about $650,000. Okay, so that's the general fund. Do you have any questions about that? Okay, so these other funds should go fairly quickly. The light fund, beginning of the year, the fund balance was $75,548. End of the year, it's $115,498, an increase of just shy of $40,000. Reasons are because revenues were over budget by $7,300 and expenses were under budget by $5,600. The hydrant fund, beginning of the year, $65,974. End of the year, $86,373, an increase in fund balance of $20,400. All of that was because of property taxes being over budget. Recreation fund, beginning of the year, $272,945. End of the year, $160,870. An increase in fund balance of $112,000. I'm sorry, that was a decrease in fund balance of $112,000. And that was because of the two projects, the Stony Point Playground and the skate park. Capital reserves, beginning of the year, $1,502,000. End of the year, $1,608,000, an increase of just shy of $106,000. That was because of a special assessment for $25,000 for, was it BST? We took a fee in lieu of traffic impact. I can't remember exactly which developer that was for. Wabash, that's right. And then we also did the transfer from the general fund into capital reserves just to save money for future projects. Traffic impact, beginning of the year, $735,214. End of the year, $874,972, an increase of just under $140,000. We collected $85,000 more in fees than we had budgeted or had anticipated. And the state fund, beginning of the year, $210,664. End of the year, $317,180, an increase in fund balance of $106,000. And the budget variance, we had planned on using $161,000 of fund balance. So the variance from the budget was actually $268,000 because we didn't build the salt shed that we had planned. Okay, so are there any questions on the fund balances?
The street light, you have, I know you said we're about 40,000 more fund balance, but do you have what we spend a year in front of you on 2021 street light?
Yep. So the only expense in this fund, I'm looking at hydrant, but we look at street light. The only expense in this fund is a bill that we pay monthly to PP&L. Those were, let me look at the right year. $159,415 for the year were the expenses. Revenue was $203,263.
So it's covered its own that way, but it's a significant amount of money for streetlights, you know, and as we do some developments and things, I mean, it's a lot of money, you know, paying for that.
And this year we anticipated the cost of electricity going up. So this year revenues and expenses are pretty much even in the budget. We'll see at the end of the year if that turns out to be true or not.
Yeah, Judy, I think we projected, we forecasted 60%.
We did.
Yeah, so we put 60% increase in fuel and electric into our budget for 2022.
So we'll be glad to have that little bit of fund balance because that'll absorb it instead of having to raise taxes. Okay. The next item I'd like to talk about is the American Rescue Plan Act. We have the final rule from the US Treasury Department, and there's some very good news there. Previously, it was in the rule that you could use the money to make up lost revenues, but obviously you can see from what I just told you, we didn't lose any revenues. So the rule was changed to allow governments to take a $10 million standard, let me see the way they word it. A standard allowance for revenue loss of $10 million, meaning that even if we didn't lose any revenue, we would be able to say that $10 million of the money we received was to cover lost revenues. And in turn, we could use that money for general government administrative expenses. So since our allocation was only 1.117 million, we can claim all of our ARPA money as recouped revenue loss.
Sorry, I'm smiling, I'm gonna say it. Only the federal government can come up with that kind of creative accounting.
Right?
Sorry.
So this came
My
out, January 3rd, and just about the next day, I heard reports that people were complaining that this money was supposed to be used by school districts to remain open, but schools closed because of COVID. So even though this came out, there's already problems with it. But that is the final rule, that we can use this money, claim it as lost revenue, and be able to use it for general administrative expenses.
Okay, so we had talked about the challenges that were out there. That's their final rule, even with the challenges that were out there, when the schools were one of them.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess at budgeting time, we were concerned about what the final rules were gonna be.
Correct.
What was gonna be allowed, what wasn't gonna be allowed, where that could be spent or couldn't.
Right.
You know, I guess it looks like it's basically a blank check now in a lot of ways.
No, it's creative accounting.
It really is, but I would still strongly recommend,
Yeah.
we're never gonna get an opportunity like this again, to be very, very smart with it and to do
Absolutely.
things that we have not been able to do. That's what this money should be used for.
But the guidance, but I'm gonna be the conservative one here. I'm listening to what you're saying, Lorenzo.
Talking to you.
But the guidance should remain, we should make sure we try to stick as close to the fundamental underlying intent and applications that they had.
I agree, because I am sure
They're gonna audit that.
they're gonna come back and there's gonna be complaints for years to come. I think back to Katrina, and I think back to people complaining about the way that was handled. And because of that, rules were changed for federal grants for years to come. And I'm sure the same issues are gonna come out of this money. So yes, I agree. The intended purpose, we should try to stick as close to that as we can.
Right, they were recouping funds on Katrina decades later.
Yes.
I see that bucket as being half full, you know, I mean, the new guidelines were, it gives us the flexibility, I think, to do what we need to do as local communities and not make us tailor something or squeeze something into some strange set of rules that we have to do. So I'm excited because of the opportunity. I think we need to be smart, which we have talked about, and plan this out, because we want to make sure it's something that we have an opportunity to use money that we would have never had before. So we want them to go as far as they can and the best purposes they can. But I'm very happy that at least they took off those arbitrary guidelines of trying to squeeze us into different things.
Yeah, we were fairly conservative on the budget side, because the budget items, we put in the items that we were high confidence, they met the initial fundamental requirements that the feds had set in place.
And I guess the first expenditure was for the ability for employees to work from home if there had been more COVID events, the necessity to do that. We talked about infrastructure upgrades with the generator as being targeted for some of that, as well as a few other things.
Yep, what we had budgeted was, let's see, I have it here, $80,000 for the digitalization of township records, purchase of ventilation HVAC system, $45,000, the generator of $60,000, the reduction to the member contribution for the police pension plan of $37,500, $175,000 for a salt shed, and then the $28,000 for the FS4 farm grant program. So that was a total of $425,500, $9,000 already spent in 2020. And then the balance was about, I guess, close to $700,000 that we still need to figure out what we want to do with. Okay.
The second half of that payment's not due till later this
June.
year.
Yeah, it's June.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on that? I'll move on to the next item. The next item in November, we agreed that we would advertise and have more formal meetings for the police officers' pension fund. We held our first meeting yesterday. The investment advisor came and presented the results for last year. So the next meeting for that will be April, I believe it is April 21st. If anybody's interested. The last item, I received the amounts that the tax collector will be turning over to the Tax Claim Bureau. This is a document that needs to be signed by the chairman and the treasurer. So I'm asking you to entertain a motion to sign these documents and to send them on to the the County Tax Collection Bureau for collection.
Can you just indicate how much is outstanding? So people.
Okay, so what was collected was, let me make sure, okay, this is combined, this is county and township. It was $2,962,955.54. The township portion that will be going to tax claim for regular bills is $13,867.65. Interim bills, $191.66. And the tax collector still has interim bills from October to December 2021 that they are able to collect in the amount of, let me make sure I get the right amount, $2,427.49.
I guess when you look at those as percentage of what was collected, it's rather minimal.
Which is typical. I mean, collection rates are usually 98 to 99% for real estate taxes.
Okay, so you need a motion for that one, right?
Yes, please.
So I will make a motion that we execute the Lancaster County Tax Claim Bureau certificate of uncollected real estate taxes for the year 2021.
Correct.
Correct?
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries.
And that's everything I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Judy? Okay, thank you. Okay, any old business?
You want the roadmaster?
Oh, sorry, yes.
He's on. Brett, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Sorry about that, Brett.
Not a problem. Good evening.
Evening.
All right, couple update items here on my report. The electrical panel update from Victorn Electric will be installing new 200 amp service for the highway shed on January 25th, 2022. Once completed, all electrical inspections will be done at this time. Road crew installed an all poly broom on the loader sweeper attachment that's finally put on by the road crew. This will eliminate any metal bristles falling off during the sweeping process of the township roads. Christmas tree fence at the Woody Waste site was installed on December 23rd, 2021, and will be up until February 1st, 2022, sorry, for anybody dropping off Christmas trees. That is the location to do that. Looking ahead for the spring and summer, road crew has taken down sections of the slide at the Reamstown pool and taken these structures to Ingham's powder coating to get powder coated and fixed up for the 2022 pool season. Turnaround time for these pieces to be completed is roughly 2 weeks from arrival. Roadmaster and crew member also met with a masonry contractor at the Reamstown pool to address some of the block wall structures in the interior of the shower location. Roadmaster is waiting for a quote, and then we'll proceed with approval process to get this work completed for the 2022 pool season as well. Excuse me. Street sweeping is tentatively scheduled for April 11th through April 14th, 2022 with Martin's Paving Incorporated. And then actually the last thing that I have on my report for this evening is I spoke with Mike Naus from Route this week in reference to the paving road improvement projects for the 2022 season. And I'd like to start getting the bid put together for that to present that to the board as well, to get that authorization out to bid as soon as possible, to get those numbers back and get that ball rolling for the road improvement projects for the 2022 season. Mike, do you have anything to add on that?
No, you wanted to just highlight the fact that not only were we looking at the roads over there on Reamstown Heights, the ones we budgeted, but also what we had talked about down on Hill Road, correct?
Yes. So just a little background on that. The Hill Road from Winding Way down to Smokestown, we've had a lot of issues as far as the surface of that and just not, basically being very slippery, not, the traction is very bad in that location. So I actually met with Stewart and Tate and got a price for $22,000 for a micro surface from Winding Way to Smokestown. That will give a lot better traction on that section heading down that steep hill. I would like to include that if possible in the quote, in the bid process under the oil, chip and fog section. I'm not sure what the wish of the board would be on that, but I think it would be smart to kind of group that all together and add that to the original oil and chip list that I had budgeted for.
Yeah, I agree. I guess Donnie, maybe you saw there's just in the last few days, there's more tracks off the road up into the berm there. People still going off that section of road. You know, I think it would be a nice upgrade back there. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, it needs to be done, because I'd probably be willing to say, if, with the traffic that travels on that road, percentage-wise, it's probably one of your most higher percentage crash areas in the township, even though it's on an intersection. We actually, this fall, we had, somebody took out the pole, and then a week later, somebody hit the pole again, and the people who live there have some little children and stuff, and just one of these times, I'm afraid, somebody, you know, the children are outside, I think something bad's gonna happen one day if we don't take care of it.
Yeah, that's a little my observation as well. For some reason, that just gets to be a slick piece of road, and any kind of chip that can upgrade that, I think it's money well spent.
So Brett, so
Do I need a motion to get that basically added to my budget for the 2022 season, or just kind of?
No, I think we just want to include it in that advertising.
Okay.
You know, we could structure it so that when it comes back to the board, as we get them advertised and we get them in, that, you know, we can award all of them if it makes sense, or award part of it if we get something that's an outlier. So we just want to have flexibility, but let's include it in because that's something we had talked about wanting to get done.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, you might be able to include that and still be under budget on that. We don't really know yet.
Correct. And then the last thing I have for this evening is the truck body approval. I have given a total of 6 quotes for the utility bed that you guys should have. I just received the last one today that I had sent over late from Baldwin Truck Equipment.
Brett, we lose you?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm here. Yeah, from Baldwin Truck Equipment, and the net total amount for that utility body is $28,332.75. So I would like to make a recommendation, looking at these quotes. The cheaper quote is EM Kutz out of Reading. My recommendation, and just kind of looking at from the outside looking in, is we deal with them in the past. We deal with them a lot, just with some of the equipment that we have currently in the township. Our Fisher plow that we have for our Dodge has a Minute Mount 2 quick connect on it, which this new plow under their quote would fit the same kind of quick connect that would be put on the new truck, as well as the Dodge that we currently have. So it would be a universal, you know, if we ever had to flip flop plows or anything like that, we have the availability to do that. We deal with them to get new plow blades. We have an account there, and that would be my recommendation, just to as far as with this process of getting this utility bed approved and ordered.
We had budgeted $65,000 for the truck. If you recall, the last meeting, we approved the purchase of the 2022 Chevrolet Silverado for $34,890.83. So that left a budget balance of about $30,109.17. At the time, we had a couple quotes. They were exceeding that number, so the board had asked to go back and see if we could get some additional quotes, which Brett just did, and I think he had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm showing 5 here. EM Kutz was the lowest, $24,622. So even going with that, with the other capability of having the ability to flip-flop these and interchange these plows when needed, that still keeps us about $5,500 under budget for the year. The Baldwin one the quotes range from EM Kutz 24,622 up to the high-end one with MJR equipment was 37,335. So the recommendation that sounds like that the road crew's making is to go with EM Kutz for the utility bed, aluminum body, liftgate, strobe lights, snowplow to be installed on that 2022 Chevy Silverado, and we'll still say about $5,500 under budget doing that.
Brad, are you, I noticed some variations in the equipment and the different bids. Are you certain that the specifications here are what you were looking for?
Yeah, and basically what happened was every equipment company that I've called, I basically told them what we had ordered, gave them the specs of the new truck, and this was what they had come back to what they currently use for their equipment, and basically just gave them a kind of what I wanted in a item by item list on kind of what I was looking for. And yes, everything under EM Kutz is definitely what we are looking for in a truck. And it's the aluminum body, the stainless steel plow. So I think this is will be really good for the road crew.
Okay.
What's the wish of the board?
You all right on that, Lorenzo?
Yeah, as per our discussion with Brett, I actually stopped out at the shed last week, I think, Thursday.
Yeah, last Thursday.
Got a tour because I never knew where it was. I actually had to ask somebody where it was. But yeah, I'm surprised with all the equipment we have, and they're doing a great job out there. And he was talking to me about this, and I think it's great, like Mike said as well, about the interchanging with the Dodge and the new Chevy. So I'd make a motion to, contract with EM Kutz Incorporated to go ahead and purchase all the equipment for the new truck with a total of $24,622.
I will second that, but I just want to add one thing in there. Let's add, I'd like to add in there an NTE, not to exceed for that price.
Because he knows when we'll get it. Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Not to exceed for that price.
Yeah, I think the contract, if we sign it, get it back, they should be honoring it, so I don't see that as a problem.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Thanks, Brett. And wanted to point out, like I told you, I'll make it public. Heard a lot of good things. You guys are keeping the roads clean with these crazy storms we had. So obviously you gotta give credit where it's due. Keep up the good work. We're gonna probably have a crazy winter here.
Lorenzo, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, MS4, Ken.
Yes, the audiovisual system. We had a low estimate from the bids we got last time, $11,000 for an audio and video system for here in this room chambers. The request last time was what would it cost to just do the audio portion of it, because that's the main problem we were experiencing. And so I have a new quote from the same company, Associated IT Services, formerly Andy Communications, of $4,200 to do the audio system. And it would in part use some of the existing equipment that's in the room here. Surprisingly, we tested it out and the amplifier and the microphone jacks actually still work. It's very encouraging. Question, Doug, do you know how long it's been since that was in use?
Probably 25, 30 years.
Yeah, so it's been a long time, but in fact, it's functional. The amplifier that's here works and is actually a type that's still made. It's kind of modular. You put individual units into it to be updated, so that's functional. So what that would give us is that would give us 5 microphones for the dais up there. There are microphone jacks already up there that are wired into the system on the table in front of you. In front of the chief there's a switch that turns the system on and off. And we would get a hanging microphone out in the center of the room here to pick up the audience. We have a mixer to mix it all together, USB mic preamp, all the wiring, installation, programming, testing, and training to do with. And that's for a price of $4,200. And that will hook in as the audio portion of what we're doing now. We could get a better web camera. This is actually the one from home that I brought from my computer system. So the township can probably buy its own for $50. But put it together, that should solve the audio problems we've had in this room.
I'll defer to you guys, I'm not a technology expert.
Ken, do they have the equipment?
Do they have it?
Do they have it, or do lead times?
I do not know about lead times. I didn't check with them on that.
Okay.
That's my question. What we should have all approved.
Can be sitting on a boat for the next 9 months.
We'll sign a contract and then receive it.
Well, I think it's something we need to do. We'll clean up the audio side. We've done so much with the monitors, the Zoom, and everything else. I think we should do it.
That's where I've heard Redland's concerns. The audio portion on Zoom is, it's indistinguished all times, and
Judy, will this fit under that blank check?
Yes, it will. Even under the old rule, it would, yes.
Okay.
So should
That was a rhetorical question.
should we consider approved plus the $60 he said?
No, I think, yeah, it should be a motion. It should be a motion to do, approve the equipment and a camera. Separate motion. So, do you want to make that motion?
Sure. You want a second?
I'll do it.
I'll make a motion to contract with Associated IT Services for the installation of audio equipment upgrades for the township's video streaming system at a cost of $4,200 as per the estimate number 2785 dated January 5th, 2022.
And I will second that. Any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries. Okay.
One other related comment on that. We probably at some point need to put a network cable jack back here where the computer is. Earlier in the meeting, the Wi-Fi kicked out. And so we lost, because the camera's back here and this computer set up and the audio was up front. That one has a direct network connection, so we didn't lose audio, we only lost the video. The Zoom connection, so we should have basically just the wire run down to this point somewhere.
Okay, so let's do this, if you guys are okay with this. Let's get some pricing on the cameras. We'll hold that motion for the next meeting, get some pricing on the cameras and get a price to run a network cable back there. So we can hardwire it in.
That'll be the designated area for the.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
The FS4 program, we have a complete set of signed documents back now for 2 of the 3 participants in that. We needed to make some minor changes with one of them, the Hoovers, which farms we were going to be using, and John Williamson down at TMAG is working on that, and hopefully within the next week we'll get that back and have all of the contracts signed for the FS4 program.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ken? Okay, moving on, next item, treasurer's report, list of bills.
List of bills, we have a lot of bookkeeping to catch up on from the end of last year through today. So what I'll start with is the electronic bills, the payroll from December 17th to December 31st of 2021 with a total of $84,009.12. And I would make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
All right, one down. Okay, now we have a end of year general fund payment of bills of $349,415.42. Is there any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve as listed.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay. Now, we also have a general fund list of bills totaling $155,836.71. Any questions on that list of bills? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve as listed.
I will second that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, next one. We have a payroll of a starting date of January 1st of 2022 and an ending date of January 21st of 2022. In a total of $349,842.78. Any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve as listed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, and we have a hydrant fund of $15,795. Is there any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve as listed.
And I will second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, now we have a bit of a special issue. Last year, we opened up a Fulton Bank credit card for the use of the employees. It's come to our attention that it comes due at short periods of time. We just received it today, and it's due a couple days after our next meeting. So I would like to make a motion to approve this list of bills on the Fulton credit card as presented with validation from Financial Administrator Judy Loomis and myself, as well as Assistant Treasurer Lorenzo Benor, before our next meeting in February. And I make that motion.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries.
And just for informational purposes, it will show up on the next list of bills, so it can be scrutinized and broken out like normal. So that's my report.
And for transparency, I was just telling RC, the reason we did this is because, no, we can't just walk over to Fulton Bank here or drive over and pay it. As per Judy said, we actually have to mail it out to their headquarters in separate accounts.
It gets mailed to St. Louis, Missouri. So it would be nice to take it right up the road to Fulton Bank and we could meet that, but that's not the way this one's set up, so.
Thank you. Okay, old business for discussion. I don't think we have any. Right? Okay. So next item, new business, like fire services. Give that up.
No, I don't think, you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, can you?
You want to start and I'll pull it up.
Okay. So this is information for the board to consider before we spend any time or any resources moving forward. Just some information in general. These are data points in the fire industry that I don't know that a lot of the general public understands, and it's important that they do. The number of firefighters, this is quoting directly from a number of publications, and the numbers vary, but they don't vary by much. The number of volunteer firefighters has declined from 300,000 roughly in the 1970s for Pennsylvania to 38,000 in 2018, according to the Pennsylvania Fire and Emergency Services Institute.
If you don't want to go too far, I think we lost the internet, the wireless connection.
Did we?
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on, it might be coming out now. Yeah, just talk slow.
Talk slow.
You don't know how. Really, it's, yeah.
No, it's okay. I mean,
it looks like it's gone in and out because I can't pull up the,
let me try mine.
You want to try it?
If it lets me through.
Do we have it, Ken?
What?
You don't have any problems with the Zoom, are you?
No, it's working now. If there's more than one wireless router system in the building, you might not be on the same one. I'm running.
You need a longer cable.
Cable routers.
Okay, so bear with me here. Get this set up. So the number of, do it this way. Quicker this way. There we go. So, first, okay, now we're set. So that's the first bullet. Second bullet, the volunteer fire numbers for 2016 and 2017 are actually the lowest on record since the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, began the survey in 1983. Okay. Again, this literature, keep in mind these data points are as recent as April 2019, April 2019, and the next one is February 9 of 2019. More than 90% of the state's fire companies are volunteer, and since the 1970s, the number of volunteer firefighters has actually declined approximately 88%. Overall, industry-wide, sorry, I apologize to the couple of the chiefs that are here and firefighters, I call it an industry, but overall, industry-wide, they've narrowed it down to 7 factors as to what's happening with the shortage of volunteers. And they really are, the 7 are, the baby boomers are aging out and not being replaced by those from younger generations. And that means specifically, we are getting younger generations in, but not an equivalent number to the numbers that are actually aging out. The flexibility of modern equipment and schedules, everybody's busy and everybody's got something going on, and it's tough to get volunteers. The need to hold multiple jobs to make ends meet. The transience of modern lifestyles, it makes it difficult to commit to a volunteer schedule, referring to people getting transferred, people relocating, people in Pennsylvania for 4 years and then they get relocated somewhere else. Increased awareness about cancer risks associated with firefighting and its perceptions as being too risky for volunteers. An increase in urbanization that's pulled potential volunteers away from rural communities. And that's specifically related to, when I read that white paper, that's specifically related to volunteers with a lot of experience are actually moving towards urbanization, urban areas where they're actually getting employed full-time. That's part of that report. And then a shift to handling more medical calls than fire calls. And that's for the volunteers that are looking for the true firefighting portion. So communities are testing a number of different strategies for mitigating the impacts of volunteer shortages. This is specifically, keep in mind, for the impact on the shortages for volunteers. In Pennsylvania, what they're currently doing throughout the state, they're starting to take a look at 3 things. More funding for training and equipment. Now, I will say we are, as a community, we're doing that a lot more than we did in the past. There's 4 bullet points out there. So in 2021, we paid for the grant writer for the air packs that were purchased. In 2020, we spent about $34,000. Alan, you're back there, and you guys, of course, remember this. Spent about $34,000 for the Motorola purchases. We increased funding from $25,000 in 2018 to what it currently is now in 2021 of $35,000 for each of our 3 fire companies. And then there was support for the helicopter pad in 2018. So it's more funding for training and equipment, increased incentives, which is an interesting one, and better online marketing. In 2018, East Cocalico rolled out a strategic plan, and what we talked about back then was moving forward, and one of the things we had talked about was trying to lead the county in everything we did. Okay. So, in essence, continuing with this spirit of leading the county in everything we do, I'd like to propose moving forward to explore the feasibility of a new program. This is strictly an exploration of a new program. It's not the new program, it's not the exact way it's going to work, it's just the concept. Is it even feasible? Is it even possible? So the program would really be designed around a mission statement, and the mission statement would be to help reduce the impact of volunteer shortages by providing increased incentives and recognition directly to East Cocalico Township individual firefighters for a stronger community. So it's an incentive and recognition program that would go directly to the volunteers themselves. So what is conceptually the idea of the program? The program is designed to provide incentives and encouragement for the individual firefighters, really to assist and facilitate in recruitment, retention, and appreciation of those volunteer firefighters. So I think a lot of people don't understand this. They are volunteers. Again, they are volunteers. So the program, the concept, the idea initially would be the program would include annual township funding for the program. The incentive funds would be encumbered specifically for this program. Active volunteers would be meeting specific criteria. Now, what does that really mean? Again, conceptually, an active volunteer would have to be defined and determined. The criteria of active volunteer, those criterias would be set and negotiated between the township and the fire departments, because we have no idea what the criteria would be. That would be heavily reliant on the fire departments to let us know, okay? The criteria would be the same for all three of our fire companies, and the criteria reports would be provided quarterly to the township. Again, just concepts. Again, not for equipment or running the departments. It's specifically about incentives directly to the volunteer. So conceptually, first appreciation fund payouts would be at year number 2 at the inception of the program, if we could get the program up and running this year. So 2 years of investment growth, funds would probably be put into a trust account. Annual appreciation payouts would then be performed for those individual firefighters. The program tenure and participation requirement would be 2-year cumulative from the inception of the program. So that way we could take the firefighters that are there now. The concept again here is you take the firefighters that are there now, and you want them to meet the criteria as active firefighters for a 2-year period, okay? It does not have to be one other idea. It does not have to be consecutive years. There could be an injury, there could be a family that has an illness. We don't want to penalize those volunteers, so what you do is it could be consecutive. So the idea would be they could take 6 years to meet their 2-year cumulative. Once they hit their 2-year cumulative, then they would be part of that incentive program. The amount of individual payout is determined by the number of active volunteers, again, meeting the criteria. Variable disbursement cap to an account for volunteer growth. Again, that would be a trust fund. Active volunteer criteria must be met for payment, as I mentioned earlier. Each annual payment is based on the current year's criteria. That criteria may change. We may look at it and implement a program, if we do implement a program, and say, wow, we have to make some modifications here, so that criteria might change for the next 2-year cycle. If the program ceases, the funds are revert back to the township. And again, participation is 100% voluntary. So the next steps. What I'd like to do before we spend any time, any resources of the township, as we are supposed to, any time or any resources of the township, is bounce off my fellow board members. Do you think this would be something that would be worth researching? Something that's worth looking at? So really it's moving forward with modeling, moving forward with researching the viability. Is this even possible? There's a lot of questions here, such as, I'll jump to the third bullet there, legal details. That would have to be worked out and understood. What are the implications here? Not sure. That's part of what we would have to research and look at. Definitions of active volunteers and criteria. What are those? We don't know. We would have to investigate those and look at that and work with our fire companies to figure that out. But what I would like as part of this, it would be to place $15,000 initially is encumbered funds in 2022 for the program, if the program actually is viable, if it actually, we vote to put it in place, and if, again, the modeling and the viability show that it's positive. Okay, so let's talk some examples. Again, these are only a 2020 to 2029 modeling on my part. Some basic assumptions here that are very, doesn't have it there, but that's okay. I was looking for my pointer. Some basic assumptions here. Basic assumptions are, you see, starting balance would be $15,000 in 2022 right there. Take a look at the interest rates. I was very, 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 very conservative on the interest rates right now in terms of this type of program. So the interest rates, we hit a high of 2% on the return on these funds in 2029. So that was the first thing that I did. And again, this is only to throw the idea and the concept out there. So if we put $15,000 in and that money sits there in year number 2, where there's $15,063.14, including the interest, then we pay out $15,000. The $15,000, this is where it's per active volunteer. So I apologize to the chiefs, I just kind of threw numbers in here initially to run the model. So let's assuming Reamstown had 40 active volunteers, Smokestown had 20, Stevens had 20, and again, I apologize up front, I just threw numbers in here just to look at the financials. So if there's total of 80 firefighters that are considered active volunteer firefighters, what we could be doing as a community is in year number 2, if there was 100% participation of the 80, they would receive $187.50 at the end of the year. Now, let's say if there was participation of only 60%. Again, the participation would meet the definition of the criteria for an active firefighter. So the concept would be with 60% participation, those 48 active firefighters that meet the criteria would be looking at $312.50. So this is 75%, 80% participation, and this is how it models out in time. Okay. Again, strictly a model, and that is in essence what I'd like to propose to the board. Something, do we think about it now? Do we mull this over? And again, this is not the finished product. This is strictly a concept and an idea to find some way to help our fire departments, help them with the volunteers and provide those incentives for those volunteers, okay? And do we take the resources of the town and move forward with researching this? So
my question would be, Adamstown, Denver, Reinhold, I think, they run in our area as well, right?
there are, I'm not sure, I think there's 6 or 7.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember that.
I'm not sure if those departments also run in our district. Do they? It's 7.
There's 7 companies.
Jeff, it's 6 or 7, right?
7 companies that run East Cocalico Township.
So my initial thought is, so since there's 7 companies that run, not all the time, but sometimes in our department, in our municipality, how do we give back to them as well? I think the idea is good. We have a lot of hashing out to do, because getting volunteers, as we know, we can't get workers, let alone volunteers. But I think something was ticking this week with me, because I talked to you about setting something up with all the fire departments in the area, Adamstown, Reamstown, Stevens, Smokestown, because I wanted to introduce myself, because I don't know a lot of these people that even run in East Cocalico, just to let them know I'm the newly elected supervisor, you know, and try to start off with wanting to work with the, you know, members surrounding the community, seeing what their thoughts are on firefighting to begin with. So perhaps, you know, if Mike, we set that up, you know, obviously it's still too early to even introduce this to them because we still have to figure out what we want to do. Right. But at least we can kind of see where they see the firefighting for our community in the future as it is getting harder. But I think the idea is great.
I guess from my perspective, yeah, I sat down with all the companies at different times and talked about the future of firefighting in East Cocalico. And I think what you say, you being the new guy on the block, I'm sure you know a bunch of these guys, but you don't know them as a supervisor and, you know, in the seat that you're now sitting in. I think it would be a good idea for you and Mike to sit down with all these companies at different times. You know, you've provided a nice outline here of what the concepts, what the thought processes are. I think with Mike there, he's always well versed in details. There's no reason why you two couldn't float some of these ideas to get some initial feedback. You know, as we all know, there's no sense beating around the bush. There's different ideas throughout our firefighting community here, and we also, you know, have to be cognizant of the surrounding companies. You know, it is a puzzle. There's no question. If it were easy, things would have been done years ago. I like the idea of incentivizing volunteers. I think it's a good concept. You know, will there be buy-in? And I think, you know, maybe with what Lorenzo just said, that might be the logical first step. See from your ideas, your outline, what the feedback is. If there's ways of making it feasible, acceptable to all the companies, I would hate to go forward with something like that and not have all the companies, you know, with the same mindset, the same buy-in here. I don't think that would be fair to the volunteers in the community as a whole. So, yeah, just some of the initial thoughts. I'm not discounting it in any way, but there's a lot of angles to this. So, you know, if you're in agreement, you know, why not let Mike and Lorenzo take the ball and run with this a little bit, see what kind of initial feedback's there.
Because there's a lot of research that has to be done. For many areas. Thoughts, comments, questions from the public? We have the president here and some chiefs. Yes.
I'm just gonna, Jeff Garner, I'm just gonna mixed feelings about the concept, and the only reason I have that feeling is because currently there's grants out there by the state in excess of $5,000 to $10,000 that a fire department can get to go towards recruitment and retention. Talking with our chief earlier today, the history of those grants working is minimal to none. So the money's there. The money's there by the government to get it. It's just the key point, your first key point is your millennials have no interest at all. It's not like us guys that have been in the service 30 years that if there was a fire call, you threw your kid in the car and they went along with the fire call. You know, if something's better coming along, it doesn't matter if I'm active or not. It doesn't matter if you're gonna give me $200 a year. You know, if something's better, it's a different mindset, But again, there's, from looking at, because we look at every week, we look at every month in our department, and, there's money there to be given. It's just, people don't care about it.
When you say there's money is for recruitment, is that actual, can it be used for actual remuneration payment?
There's criteria to it, so it doesn't really equate to like a financial gain.
Okay.
You can do like buying them gear, like personal gear, like shirts or something like that, getting them gift cards, like you run so many calls, you get a $50 gas card, put gas in you can use things like that. That's not like you're paying the individual. So, there's criteria, we looked into one that's like $5,500 a grant. We can fill out the application, so there's criteria that you have to put, and you have to show what you've used that money for, for that grant. And they're out there. I mean, just one history with something on EMS, there's a lot of these departments that offer like free EMT training and EMR training and everything, and they get grant money. I mean, we've talked to EFRTA, they got like $20,000 in grants for, EMTs. They get their class loaded. They take the class and they go somewhere else. They took it here because it was free, they took it somewhere else. So you don't have the dedication like we had, I'm not gonna say my age, but, the guys that have done it, and I have to say, from the active firefighters you have in all three departments, they're doing it because they want to do it. But again, they're not committed like, they used to be. And it's unfortunate. And it's like Lorenzo said, you can't find somebody to work, let alone find somebody to volunteer. So, it's just, there's things out there that, can be used as resources. So.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm the same with Jeff, there's mixed feelings, because most of the
Sorry,
guys.
name, Chief.
Donnie Stover. I think most of the guys that are in now are just in it because they want to help their community, they want to do it. And I've talked to people, I'll join, what do I get? I get paid and this and that. And it's just a tough thing. But I think if we sit down, maybe we can come just something. But as we pursue this to get out in public, to get some volunteers, I think one of the things we gotta do, and Chief or Judy, what's the police budget for this year overall, roughly?
About 3.1 million.
3.1 million. Well, if we had to go paid fire service, that's not even close to what the fire service would cost. Because what's a cruiser cost, like 30, 40,000?
No, it's up to 50,000.
50,000? Well, I know to replace Screamstown ladder truck, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's gonna be what, almost $1.5 million probably?
The ladder truck?
Yeah.
No, you're $1.5 million. Do you get a new ladder truck and equipment?
So, and maybe that's one way to show the community, if we lose volunteers and put paid fire service in, they think they pay a high police budget, while the fire budget's gonna go way above that. Maybe that may help. But I've reached out already just in, to people saying, we need somebody with, we don't really have a lot of technical people, computer savvy people. It's most, like, I'm looking for somebody, and they just don't want to do, we don't have the time. So I think just to get somebody to join the fire company, and according to somebody who sits in an office somewhere, they're riding a fire truck, you need 200 hours of training. Well, now that individual has to get pulled away from their family and other activities, and people just don't want to go through it. It's hard, it's tough.
Yeah, it's hard. It is. Thank you.
So I'm wondering, what's the status of like Explore programs for like younger people? Do they still even exist?
Like, we have 2 juniors at our station.
Yeah, I mean, they're where you get a lot of them, and I can't speak as best as our chief can. Where you get them is where you have departments that have the living quarters, you know, more or less the call volume. So it's like, okay, you know, Manheim Township, you know, they have living quarters where they can do that, they pay for the kids to go to school. You know, where you don't, here we're more rural. We don't have that flexibility, we don't have that, no, we can't offer that. We can offer it, but, you know, you don't have that opportunity.
If it was one Explore program for the 7 departments, would
Well,
that be a possibility?
there's where you gotta look at it, because I think you gotta take the 7 departments out of it, because they're technically not in your township. You know, they run into the township because it's best for the life safety of the township. So I think Jeff can speak for, you know, kind of where you live. It's, you know, Ronald's better to come to you versus quicker. You know, so you gotta kind of look at those things, and I think any of the chiefs would say the same thing. You're gonna have 7 different opinions. And, you know, but you gotta look at life safety. So if you look at the 7 departments or 8 departments or whatever that run into the townships, you know, it's a little bit like Stevens, they run into Ephrata. It's like, do you look at your 3 departments that are in the township, that service the township, strategically placed different within the township? So there's a big pre-planning, this can go on. I mean, we tried to have that with our fire board and looked at some of those things when we had the discussions before. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this whole thing. You know, we're fortunate, we did a recruitment day, November, is that when we did ours, November?
Something like that, yeah.
We were there for 4 hours. We had 2 people walk in the door. One just was in there because his son wanted to come in. We had another guy come in because he moved here from New York and he's retired and he's coming around, but he's older. He's not the newer kids, so he's older. So yeah, we're happy to have that guy, but 4 hours, you have 1 person. We did a thing on Facebook, we advertised on Facebook. I forget how many hits we had on Facebook. We had 2 people show up. 2.
For 4 hours.
4 hours. I mean,
You're confirming that first slide with all
Yeah.
that data.
It's unfortunate, and I think it's our demographics. I think it's where we're located. You know, because I think a lot of the people that are in this area think it's a paid service. It's a paid service where they come from. They come from the Philly area, they come from New Jersey, they come from New York, and they're used to it. They're used to, hey, I don't have to pay anything, you know, we do it with a fund drive. We send out a fund drive letter. People are like, what's a fund drive? You know, what's a fund drive? You know, so it's just, it's the expectation. I think a lot of it comes down to education, you know.
Well, it's interesting, you and I have talked about this in the past, and it's very interesting right now because I came from New Jersey originally, and yes, to me, it was an eye-opener that the volunteer company is here because I came from an area where your property tax, it takes care of everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was an eye-opener. Yes, sir.
My name's Barry Garner. I'm a trustee with Reamstown. I'm one of the older members there. I was watching your presentation here, and my only thought was here, if you start encompassing all the companies that run mutual aid into Reamstown, and you fill out the criteria for an active fireman, you're gonna pay maybe an active fireman from Ephrata or Rhinos or Denver for 1 or 2 calls that they run into the township all year long, where you have Smokestown and Stevens and Reamstown running all the calls all year long. So I think if you're gonna start with something like this, you're gonna need to start with just the township companies and see how that goes and build out, because I think you may get some flack from the active members here saying, I'm running all year, you know, like our ladder truck runs into Ephrata Borough, probably more than Ephrata Borough comes into East Cocalico. So you have guys that run calls all year long, and they would be getting the same incentive as a guy from Medford or Rhineholds or Denver or Adamstown who comes in here once or twice a year. So I think it's a good idea, but I think you gotta keep it to the township companies to start out with, yeah. And not open up a mushroom right away.
Okay, thank you.
Actually give the other companies an incentive every time they come.
Has it been discussed to restart the fire board again with the supervisors?
That, no, that was when you were working on it.
I'm just curious, I mean.
No, Jeff, that was, because COVID hit and everything kind of fell apart.
Yeah, I was just curious, because I mean, I think, kind of like what Lorenzo and Mike are gonna do, go around and do more of the introductions with the guys, but I mean, I think, and I can't speak for Donnie, or I can't speak for Scott or Chad, but I think all three of us have a vested interest, because the way it broke up, that, there was some good coming out of those meetings. There was some hostility in them, but there was some good coming out of them. I mean, I think that's should be considered as you're considering, because I guess I'm looking at like you're trying to do an incentive over here, but yet you really don't care what's going on within the three departments, just trying to find volunteers. And I guess the question is, do you want to understand what the dynamics are within those departments to bring the volunteers into? Because what if you bring a volunteer into something, you're investing this, you bring it, and you got dynamics. Again, we run our department like a business. And there are some days that we're at each other's throats. Like that day, I don't want anybody coming in. I don't want anybody coming into our department because we're at each other. Then there's next days like, yeah, let's so, just having dynamics, because we all do run together. The firefighters run, together. So, again, I can't speak for Swepstown or Stevens about the fire board, but, trying to understand what those dynamics are with the other two departments.
Can I ask a question? I don't know, has it ever been determined how many, what the optimal or even the minimum number of firefighters are needed to serve the township? Has that ever been
needed?
Yeah.
I couldn't answer that. I couldn't answer that. That would be best for a chief to answer. I'm not even, Scott might know that. I'm not sure if Donnie or Chad would know that.
I just thought you had mentioned about the budget, being 3 times the police. So, was that based off of knowing that we'd have to have 26 firefighters or 46 or what?
Well, it'd be, I just said that basically because you're gonna have to have, you figure if you're gonna compensate firefighters, you figure EMS is gonna be included in that. So you need a minimum probably 6 to 8 people per shift, let's say, to fill out, 4 to 6 on a fire truck, 2 on the ambulance, and that's only 1 truck. You wanna stack 2 trucks, you never have any person, you gotta keep adding that. And then you're gonna have a fire chief, you're gonna have, administrative, just like the police department, but you're still gonna need a fire, somebody with authority, every shift that's working, you're not gonna have just you're gonna have a, you might have a fire chief, but then you might have 3 or 4 deputies, depending on how many shifts you run, so there's a deputy on every shift. So when it's all said and done, you could easily, if you did 3 shifts, you're gonna be sitting there probably close to 40 people, or 50 people, to encompass all the shifts and cover everything plus administrative and.
And that's, I'm just trying to get a sense of how many volunteers, where we sit volunteer-wise versus the coverage that we need, and so how far are we off? Are we ahead of the curve, but we're seeing that we're aging out and we're not getting newer people coming in? Are we just hanging on? Like, where are we?
I'd say you're half of what you need.
Okay.
Because on a daytime call, if you listen to a daytime call on most of your departments, you're hearing that an engine's getting out with 3 people. That's not, you should be 5 to 6 people. Sometimes you get 2. know, and that's the reason that the chiefs have gone with the mutual aid, because, you know, it used to be 5-6 years ago, you could handle a call with 1 or 2 departments because you had 5-6 guys rolling in on a truck, on an apparatus, where now you create a parking lot because you gotta bring the guys in for the manpower, you know, because you just don't have it. And again, like one of RC's slides, again, you know, your employers aren't letting employees leave, you know. We had talked about that, like going to some of the bigger businesses around here and just say, hey, you know, can you let people go? You know, they gotta probably have safety people that are trained, you know, so. And Donnie wasn't far off, you know, you just look at Spring Township and you look at Manheim Township, you know, they're gonna at least have 5-6 guys on a shift. And I forget what Manheim Township's budget was. I think, this is gonna be wrong, I think Spring Township's budget was $6 million.
Just for firefighting.
Just for firefighting, and they have full-time, now they're paid and full-time. I mean, they're paid and volunteer, but during the day, they have paid and they have paid drivers, they have the hybrid model, but their budget is crazy, and Manheim Township's is crazy too. So Donnie wasn't far off, like, it's above your police budget.
So I saw a hand in the back. Yes, sir.
Jerry Hartman. There's a couple of factors they're not including in this. The fire companies are self-supporting, so we have fundraisers. Not only do you have to get out of bed in the middle of the night after the fire call and do your job, but then you gotta spend a lot of family time raising money to keep the fire company running. So what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing and what I've seen over time is we need to educate the community. Now, when we do some fund drives, we put a paper out stating that we are completely volunteer, which a lot of people don't understand, like RC said. And if you educate some of the community and through your township board pamphlet you send out, some of these things should be addressed so that people would understand. There's a lot of good people out there, and I consider it a privilege to serve. But you have to understand, it takes a lot of time, and not only because you have to be self-supporting, and you guys have raised our budget, and which is greatly appreciated, but everything else is going up with it. You have, just to be a certified volunteer, you gotta spend over 200 hours in classes, and that's at night. Sometimes I didn't get home till 12 o'clock at night. You work all day, you go to class all night, climb ladders, drag hoses. I mean, you gotta really be dedicated to do it. But there is a benefit to it. There's satisfaction because you're doing something for the community.
Thank you.
I guess to piggyback a little bit, Jeff, off of your point, you know, we had talked to Jerry Ozog from the Fire Institute. You were on a webinar, I guess, with that as you were there. It's like going back 2 years ago, maybe. Yeah, we had talked to him. We put together a proposal for us to move forward. But, you know, and that would be a complete appraisal of the services that we have in the community. He's a professional, well-traveled throughout Pennsylvania, well-respected. He would give us some feedback. He would give us direction where to head with it as a board. And, you know, I think that's a little bit where, you know, my thought process was, you know, are we as a board ready to move forward with that kind of major initiative? You know, not knowing quite where this is going to lead, but, you know, are we prepared to do that for the future of firefighting in the township? You know, maybe this kind of program is a little bit the cart ahead of the horse, that we should be making major decisions about where we're going to head with this before we do something like this could be a component further in, but, I think eventually it's gonna take some professional guidance and, will of the board to move forward, however the directions go. I think that's where we got left off a little bit, Jeff, and, I'll take the responsibility for my part of letting that sit for a little bit.
No, there's no pointing fingers, it's just, things happen why they happen, things happen for a reason, maybe, COVID and everything hit, it's just like, you guys are looking to invest a lot of money into something, yeah, it doesn't get paid out, it's not money spent, but, I see that money, when I look at it from a big picture, I'm like, I think that money's not well spent, sitting in $15,000 sitting in an account, because I don't think it'll be paid out. That's my opinion, that's a personal opinion.
Well, if it's set up and guidelines are in place, it will be, but is it enough to make a difference?
Right.
It will be embraced. Will volunteers feel the appreciation of the effort put into it from our standpoint?
It's a great conversation starter.
And that's exactly what it's designed for. So, all right, well, I think we table this one. There's a lot to think about.
Well, there's a lot of avenues.
And that was really, and I thank you, everybody, for the feedback. That was kind of the intent right now, there's a lot here, a lot to think about. There's the old program to think about. So, okay. Yes, sir.
Doug Macklin, just to remind you three gentlemen, your primary duty is the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. You're charged with, whether it be police or fire, you need to come up with a plan that works. There's no getting around it. I've been sitting in these meetings and we've been talking about this for years and years, and it just keeps kicking the can down the road. Somewhere along the line, you gotta hit a wall and get serious about it. But it is your responsibility to make it happen. It's not gonna be easy, no one said that. And I've said it for many years, I agree with what Donnie said. You think the police budget's high, you ain't seen nothing until you have a paid firefighter.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item. Mike, municipal building lighting.
So it was just a conversation starter, lighting and painting possibly to the building. I don't know how much of you guys noticed our lovely floors. The floors have been replaced. And I just feel like, I look down at that door and just look up and there's a big crack on that back wall. Possibly painting, fixing it up, updating, whatever needs updated. Possibly could be in the budget. Just making a proposal, refreshing up the building a little bit, perhaps.
It's definitely worth looking at, absolutely.
Normally you start from the top and work your way down to the floor. We started at the floor, now we're gonna work our way up. So
we put the police sign out there on the curb. That was, Chief, help me out here. Alan, Doug.
And 272.
17, 18 somewhere.
18, late 18, 19. Yeah, so.
If I could add to that, and it's just a suggestion, when you drive past the building and you see the light posts out front that are like this, and the one out back that's like this.
The one light at the sign don't work, it's broken.
Right, so when Tyler Pickthorn came out to fix the one light pole outside, he made a comment that, it could be something that could be done at a reasonable price. I have no idea what that is, but either fixing them, placing them again, or getting new light posts outside. But again, it does, when you look at the building and then you see the poles leaning, and again, they haven't been attended to in a very long time. They weren't, but it's something to think about. We're trying to do it down in the police department, from painting the cabinets to, excuse me, getting a new kitchenette next year, or this year, I should say, and those type of things to make it better, flooring's in downstairs, and it also helps morale for the employees.
We did the same thing with all the banners that are here. Remember that, Jeff? We asked the fire companies when we came on board, let's get the banners in here because, to the point of volunteers, people don't know if the walls were there. And, people need reminders that we have our fire companies out there.
You all right with that? We look into it as well?
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to
I
look
think the
at it.
staff would be willing to give a bunch of recommendations and ideas.
No crystal chandeliers.
I ran it by them a little bit, everyone's, they were smiling ear to ear, so they saw the nice floor and they're like, it would be nice, so.
I think it's absolutely worth investigating. What the costs are, doing what by room, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, anything else? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Hey, public comments for non-agenda items. Again, just for ease of meeting minutes, please state your names clearly. Yes, sir.
Doug Maxwell. During the April 15th, 2021 meeting, Jeff made a comment that he had a list of 8 to 9 items that you were discussing with the people that you were interviewing to fill out Alan Fry's term. And in particular, you stated, I'm going to quote because it's in YouTube, the LERTA program will sunset here later this year in October. It will have to be a board decision whether it continues and in what form it continues. And just for reference, that occurred at 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 37 seconds on YouTube.
That was a mistake, that happens in this year.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah. It
So
happens.
you made, okay, all right,
That's
that's
a
fine.
mistake.
All right. At the meeting of it would be August the 5th, the board talked about resolution 2021-11, which is, I think it's a Stony Point development by Landmark. And RC made the comment that we will table this discussion on the swale for 30 days. This goes back to August. Whatever happened, did that thing die or go away? That was a resolution with landowners taking care of the swale. Where do we stand on that? It's been since August.
You were with Landmark here at that time. I don't mean to throw this in your lap, but.
The reason that the 30 day, the purpose for the 30 days was to get the NPDS permit closed out and send for Landmark to send letters to all the property owners notifying them that that permit had been closed out and that they were going to be taking over responsibility for maintenance of the swale from Landmark. So that's why it, as I recall, the board didn't want to just give an absolute, okay, as of this date, your Landmark, you're done. But the estimate was that it would be 30 days to get the permit closed out by the conservation district. And yes, the permit was closed out by the conservation district, and yes, the letters were sent out. I sent them out as a matter of fact, and I provided copies of those letters to Mike. So that was where that ended up.
So those landowners that have bought that swale now know that they are responsible for taking care of it.
They were notified when they purchased the property, but as a courtesy, I did that with some other developments like that, just because it's been a long time since since people signed their paperwork when they purchased their property.
Right.
And especially with that project, because they'd seen Landmark staff back there so often doing things back there, that just so that there was no confusion or anything, it was a good idea to let them know that, now we're not gonna be back there doing any mowing anymore or anything like that. Now it's being turned over to you officially.
And well, the question was, the 30 days, and it was never mentioned in any subsequent meetings that any of that had taken place, so thank you. One other question, I heard it twice from two gentlemen up there, that there's over 11,000 people in the township.
I guess we're waiting for the latest census. That was Craig's comment to me.
Well, yeah, but you mentioned it tonight, and Lorenzo echoed you, said there's 11,000 people in the township.
Okay, that was Craig's comment to me.
You're just talking, you don't even know? But the point is, we belong to
We're growing. The last census was what, 10,550?
10,300 if I remember.
All right.
That's
And we're growing.
Well, okay, we're part of the drug task force. And we've always agreed to give $1 per citizen in lieu of having one of our police officers go undercover. We used to do that years ago.
And we still do.
No, but I mean, one of our officers was undercover for years,
Okay.
a couple times. And they always ask for $1 per person, which isn't a lot of money for what they're doing. I know the budget, you put in 10.3 and now you're telling me 11, so I'm just trying to figure out where it is or what it is.
Oh, okay, I don't have the latest census
Then
figures.
you shouldn't say things you
All
don't
right.
know, Joe.
All right,
Okay?
I apologize.
Well, not to me, you're saying it to everybody in the room.
I repeated what Craig said to me.
I tell you the moon's made of green cheese, you're gonna believe it.
You said it publicly, I'll repeat it.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I have one announcement. I'm gonna tease Mike and say thank you, Mike.
Sure.
No, I have one announcement, just in full disclosure for the public. I do have my first meeting with the Lancaster County Planning Commission that I was appointed to, and that meeting is gonna be on Monday at 2:30 in the afternoon. So, just so the public's aware of that. Okay, the next supervisors meeting is gonna be held on Thursday, February 3rd, 2022. It's gonna be at 7 p.m. It will be here in the East Cocalico Township building, and it will be held in person and again, live, and it will also be held on Zoom. And do we need executive session? No? Okay. Right, so we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And I will second it. We have a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
2020.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
10,000.